talking to students, they will swap their passwords on Facebook. So I give you my password, you go in and change it, and I can't get into Facebook for the next 2 weeks during exams. People who lock their phones in these safes that, go and lock it and you can't get back to your phone for another hour. Jonathan Franzen, he's got a computer that he uses to do his writing. He apparently superglued the Ethernet port and he took out the Wi-Fi. There's this kind of rule of entrepreneurship. When you see people solving problems in those kind of ways, there's an opportunity there.
ADHD Rewired, episode number 64. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, let me thank our sponsors. Do you need an easy way to connect with people virtually, but don't want to be hassled by downloads that don't work, connections that are complicated? Go to erictivers.com/Zoom and check out truly what I think is a revolutionarily easy to use video conferencing platform. That's erictivers.com/Zoom. Today's podcast is brought to you by audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. Go to audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired. Check show notes for link. Thank you for listening to ADHD Rewired. Because you are spending time listening to my voice right now, there is a good chance that you are already dedicated to improving your life by learning strategies to get your ADHD rewired. If you're ready to take your ADHD management and your productivity to the next level, then you won't want to miss this summer's ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. With the ADHD Rewired Online Coaching and Accountability Group, you really can make this summer your most productive season yet. 24 people have gone through this program. In the last group, 8 of the 12 people signed up for an extension group per their request. I know this group won't be for everyone, but it might be for you. Don't wait. Go to coachingrewired.com. That's coachingrewired.com to let me know that you are interested. Or call me at 224-993-9450. That's 224-993-9450. And prepare to get your ADHD rewired. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. Today's guest is Fred Stutzman from freedom.to. Did I get that right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. This is not my best intro, but here we're going to keep moving anyways. So
let's roll with it.
Yeah, Fred is the co-founder and developer of freedom.to, the productivity service that reduces digital distractions so you can be more productive. Previously, he was a visiting professor at UNC Chapel Hill and Carnegie Mellon University. He holds a PhD in information science, a graduate certificate in quantitative research, and a BA in economics. So we got a pretty smart guy here on the line, and so I have talked about your product because I use Freedom to help me fight my own willpower when it's not there.
That's fantastic, yeah, and I appreciate that.
So I want to welcome you to the podcast. And what did I miss about who you are?
Well, thank you, and it's great to be here. We're at a really exciting stage of the company, and it's great to sort of share this with you. So what did we miss? Well, other than the fact that I am a new dad for the third time, and we're at the 3-month period, so I promise I'll be here for most of the conversation. We are a small company that is trying to make a difference in people's lives. So as you mentioned, we've been building software that helps people be more productive by reducing distractions, and we're just at a exciting phase because we're launching our new product and getting very excited to share that with the world.
So, and congratulations about the new addition to your family.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
are you getting any sleep?
A little bit more, but launching a product and a new baby at the same time, it's a it's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I definitely understand the challenges of doing a launch. So I want to kind of understand. So, we were talking a few weeks ago about kind of what your software does, and you were telling me that it's really your kind of goal is to help kind of balance that relationship between kind of yourself and technology.
That's right. Yeah. So we think the challenge that we're working on is helping people get back their balance with technology. So we kind of think of this as technology in balance. And where we get to that is through thinking about how our relationship with technology is nowadays. It's largely unbalanced. And so, to sort of step back just a little bit more into my background, I've been developing technology since I was 9 or 10 years old, and always been interested in the social and behavioral impacts of technology. I studied economics and computer science as a undergrad. I saw those two areas very tightly coupled. So, understanding the effects of technology, and that's what I did with the majority of my academic career and companies and projects that I've worked on. And so, getting to this challenge and this space that we're working on, I've always been interested in how technology moves forward and how technology adapts to the increases in processor speeds and graphics getting better. And what we've seen over the last 5, 10, 15 years on the technological side is just this explosion of capacity. We've also seen on the social side the explosion of social media and people bringing their networks online. And all of this comes together to create this extremely powerful experience that we have through technology. And when you think about how our lizard brain deals with that explosion of both the social stimuli and the technical stimuli, we see a real imbalance there. And so that's kind of our mission, kind of our why is realizing that we should be in control of our technology, and we want to give people a little bit of that back or give that back to them. And so that's the area we're working on.
So does that come from a place of experiencing this as a personal struggle, or is just more of a sort of a societal, philosophical perspective of a problem that you see?
Yeah, the original sort of gestation of the idea came from a personal struggle. So, when I was in graduate school doing my PhD, I was studying social media. So I was one of the earliest people studying this, but it really naturally drew me in. And it drew me in on a couple of levels. One, very interesting questions and outcomes, but also just a fun space to be in. I was on Facebook, when it first was launched, and just saw the tremendous power of it.
The Facebook.
No, it's the Facebook. Yeah, exactly. And so what I saw was just this, the incredible potential, and just like anybody else, I'm distractible, and would find myself spending a ton of time on social media. So when, after a couple of years of this, I got some papers written, I got my work done. But when I had to sit down and write my dissertation, I just found myself being so distracted. So what I did is I went to a coffee shop that had great coffee, but it also didn't have a Wi-Fi connection. Mm-hmm. And so this is back in, mid 2000s, late 2000s, when, we didn't all have like 4G phones or LTE phones, and, just the internet. The internet wasn't actually everywhere. So it was a great way to get away. And then one day, one of the neighbors of this coffee shop opened up a Wi-Fi connection, and my strategy just kind of started crumbling. And then after that, I said, well, how do I solve this problem? And that's where the idea for these software came from, just solving a problem that I was experiencing and adding a little bit. I mean, I'm not the first person to think of turning off the internet or turning off distractions. I mean, growing up, your parents probably said turn off the TV, or I mean, we've always said that. But
when you had to
combining that
actually get up to turn it off.
when you actually had to get up to turn it off, exactly. Combining it with some sort of behavioral restriction seemed to strike a nerve for people, and it really worked. So that's kind of that's the backstory. But my thinking on it has evolved since then. But this is kind of a classic story of solving a problem for yourself, and thankfully other people benefited by that.
Well, and I think especially for those of us with ADHD, it's where we really struggle, especially when we're in that kind of like realm of we're trying to be more productive and we're trying to get more done, and we're also have a good amount of self-awareness of what our challenges are. The real struggle then is I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. And then there breeds this whole kind of cycle of shame of like, oh, here I go again. It's like I know that as soon as I open Facebook, there's gonna go an hour, and I know that I promised myself 5 minutes, and I keep lying to myself over and over again. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, it really, I think it addresses a very important issue of how do we take willpower out of the equation.
Exactly. And that point you bring up around shame, that's something that I hear almost universally. And, it comes from this place where, and sort of to step into the philosophy just a little bit, we tend to think of technology as this very obscure thing that, we don't really question it. We don't say, the technology sort of, it sends signals at us, but do we criticize it, or, do we really think deeply about how we can change it or modify it? Like, technology is this black box, and it has impacts on our lives. We buy a computer, we buy a phone largely so we can be more productive and achieve our goals. I mean, you buy your kid the tablet, so they can do better in school. And so, we expect to get this out of technology, but what do we get? We get these distracting signals. We don't see the developers of the desktops or the phones, really thinking about these problems, or they're sort of starting to think about it. And what does it breed? It breeds shame. It breeds, feelings of, incompetence. And the reality is we are just fighting this loaded battle against technology, where technology is so powerful. And the technology is powerful, but also the social is powerful. Thinking about how a like or a notification can draw you back in. It's
that little hit of dopamine that our brain just
absolutely.
It's a tough battle, especially when you already have a struggle with kind of regulating your attention to your tasks. When you have something that's exciting versus something that's requires a lot of sustained focus and might not be as exciting. So that immediate dopamine hit from the like or the share or the comment. I mean, it's alluring.
Absolutely. And having some way to, exert your control over the technology, it really changes the experience of the technology. And I think, for me, it wasn't so much the, turning off the ability to go to sites, but it was just turning off that sort of constant inbound pinging. I have presentations that I give, and in the presentations, I have this slide, here's what you think of Facebook. And don't get me wrong, I love Facebook. Facebook is extremely powerful. It has a lot of a positive impact on people's lives. But, what you think of Facebook are the pictures and, the nephews and nieces and all that great stuff that you get of the extended family you wouldn't get through if there wasn't Facebook. But what is Facebook like? Then I have a couple of notifications that I've received. One was a birthday memo. I mean, a birthday memo of like somebody I knew 20 years ago. I guess, yeah, I should be interrupted for that. I mean, maybe. And the last notification they sent me was, it just find more friends on Facebook. It was like at 1:00 in the afternoon. I have nothing better to do than that. So like, it's this thing where if you can turn off the inbound noise, you really can focus and have a clear mind. And I think that's where the name freedom comes from. That's it's literally just, you operate in this mode where distractions are coming in so much, and then turning it off is is different. It really feels like freedom.
I know for me, I'm very kind of protective of my time and attention because I struggle with it. It's hard for me. So I know from whether it's email, whether it's Facebook, I don't have those things open and on to ping me unless that is what I intentionally want to be doing. And when I forget to turn off my messengers or close out Facebook, it's if I have Facebook open on another tab, and all of a sudden I see that little blinking, on the tab, it's like, Facebook, it's like, that's not what I want to be doing right now. And then it's the rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
So, I like the idea of front loading willpower. And I think what I've used from your software, that's what it's kind of allowed me to do is I have the good intention of being done at my office, say at 8 o'clock, PM. So what I do is I'll set up the schedule on Freedom to say, all right, at 7:45 p.m. my internet gets shut off, and if because I tend to often have too many tabs open to begin with, the only way around Freedom is to completely shut everything down, restart your computer, which requires saving everything, and that's enough of an aversive to say, you know what, all right, fine, it can wait till tomorrow, and so that's where I really find the value of Freedom. I can set it up earlier in the day when I have more of that kind of willpower, self-regulation resource available. And by the time I love when I'm in the evening and I'm on my computer at night and all of a sudden I get that little like archaic looking dinosaur that says, your internet connection is not connected. I'm like, yes.
That's exactly it. What we have found in doing our interviews and talking with people who use the software, having a way to pre-commit, when your willpower is in the right state. You go into Facebook or any distracting site. I mean, it's Facebook, it's the news, it's your, whatever it is. Everybody's got their own distraction. And what we have found is you sort of get into this cycle. And there's a writer out there, Nir Eyal, who writes about this in his book Hooked. And it's the hook cycle where, just kind of like pulling the slot machine, you log into Facebook and you hope you're going to get that great picture. You hope you're going to get something that's going to, give you a great experience. Sometimes it's a game notification, sometimes it's not always
those annoy me, the game notifications. So-and-so has invited you to play Candy Crush. I'm like, stop sending me these. I won't play Candy Crush, The last game that I played that I was warned is addicting, I learned my lesson from that. And so any other game that has that warning of careful, it's addicting, I don't even touch it.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's just very much the cycle of a reward, and the variability of the reward is what drives us, back again and again. And so if you can leverage those moments where you have willpower and easily translate that willpower into action, whether it's through committing to Freedom or, use the software or stepping away from your computer and taking a walk, whatever it is that works for you, finding ways to break those cycles of habit and addiction that are, so associated with the dopamine hits and all of the challenges that come along with the technology. That's what we've found is, what works for people. And it's all about finding the time to commit and leverage when your willpower is high, because at 4:30 in the afternoon and you're tired, your willpower is low. But if you need to get work done, you've got to find ways to draw on that resource. And I think, that's something that people try and use the software for.
Now I know you just launched a kind of a new version of Freedom, and which I have not checked out yet. And I've been using the Mac version of Freedom and enjoy it. I know for a while one of the big sort of like gripes that these Apple users have had is why can't it work on the iPhone? Is this now different?
Yeah. So after I heard that about the 100,000th time, so the backstory of Freedom, it was literally just me writing software, in my spare time when I was, in academia as UNC or CMU, and just kind of a part-time thing. And I saw trends emerging where this was a big problem that was affecting people. And I also saw an interesting opportunity where, if people really want to solve this problem, if they want to manage distraction, like you really actually have to make a pretty significant investment on the technology side if you want to do things on the iPhone and Android and all of that. So that's where the idea of the new software that you mentioned comes from, which is building a cross-platform solution. So a solution that works on every device, whether it be iPhone, Android, Windows, iPad, Mac, basically cover all your devices and provide the simplest kind of way to leverage willpower. So, if you're feeling like, oh, I'm so distracted, opening up your iPad, pressing one button, and all your devices, the distractions are muted or they go away, things like that. We wanted to provide that experience, and so that's what we've been working on for the last going on about a year now. We soft launched. We did a beta launch in February, and we've learned a ton launching new software, figure out the bugs, but the response has been great, and that's where we see ourselves going, which is providing the experience across all devices. Because you think about, you've got the notifications coming in on your phone, you've got the notifications coming in on your computer. Think about all the devices in your house. How would you even start to manage that? I mean, other than spending all your time managing it, And so
that's a good point.
we want to solve that problem for people, and also some of the things that you were talking about, better control, better scheduling, better ability to limit access to certain sites for certain amounts of time, things like that. We can do all that stuff with the new software that we've rolled out. And, I think it's just addressing the needs. 100% of this software that we've developed it comes from customers saying, this is what we want, this is what we need. And so that's what we've tried to do with the new product.
That's great. We're going to take a quick break. Before we do, can you tell people kind of where they could find Freedom?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. The new software is available at freedom.to. So just type in freedom.to into your browser, and also in the Android and iPhone stores, just search Freedom Reduce Distractions.
Okay. And we'll be right back. Support for this podcast comes from Audible. For a free audiobook download, go to erictivers.com/audible for a link for that free download and for some hand-picked recommendations. Go to erictivers.com/audible for your free audiobook download. Zoom video conferencing is so easy to use that with all the extra time I saved not having to configure complicated settings, I recorded this promotion. Support ADHD Rewired and check out Zoom video conferencing. Go to erictivers.com/Zoom. Again, that's erictivers.com/Zoom. Get a Zoom room. You guys remember Lisa Feinberg from episode number 44?
There's nothing like accountability. With what I do as a nurse, I do goal setting. So I have some experience, with setting smart goals. The thing is, much as I've known all along, without that accountability, it doesn't happen for me. That's the magic that this group provided for me.
So if you recall, one of the things that she said on that episode is that she was trying to manage and limit her Facebook use. Now, about a month ago, she sent me a message on SpeakPipe, which you can also do at speakpipe.com/ADHD Rewired. And I thought this would be a great episode here to play you what she sent me.
Hello, Eric and Rewired listeners. Since it is 11:38 p.m. on March 31st, I figured this would be a great time to meet my March deadline and give my update regarding my Facebook reduction program. So I am proud to announce that I am a recovering Facebookaholic. I say recovering because I know that it's never, I could always go back there and start using it the way I was, but I'm no longer attached as I was. I gradually reduced the time I was spending from, it started out every 2 hours to eventually 3 times a day, then only after work hours, then not after dinner. So I am really doing well. I am getting important things done, accomplishing a lot of things that I'd been putting off, like finishing some work to build my coaching business. And I completed some things for class. I have a couple clients. And my productivity's gone up at work. So I really want to thank Eric for holding me accountable, knowing that I've had to, that I'd have to report my progress to you, and your very large audience really kept me on track in the past 3 months.
So, Lisa, congratulations on all your progress. I intended on airing this about a month ago, but, sometimes we have good intentions. But I figured this episode was the perfect one to share this with, because I think it really fit in with the message of this episode. So whether you are working on your own goals regarding productivity, or you need some accountability for something for your own personal life, I would really encourage you to check out the ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. We are starting the next session in June, and I am now screening people for this group, and I hope to talk with you soon. And Lisa, congratulations. All right, and we are back. So, we were talking about freedom and this technology that you've been working on. And when we talked a few weeks ago, one of the things that you said, and I put quotes around it, so I assume I wrote down exactly what you said, is that you're careful not to recommend this for ADHD. Do you remember saying that?
I think what I said. So I know enough about. I've got friends who work in medical devices, and I know enough to not make medical claims around it. Now, is a software that limits distractions potentially good for ADHD? Definitely, but we haven't done, or we aren't planning to do. Not at our. There's 3 of us, so we're not going to do a medical studies or make medical claims at this point in time. But I think that's what I was alluding to. Okay. It was basically, I think where software companies can and device companies can get into trouble is making medical claims about the outcomes of a technology. But interestingly enough, though, there was just a study out of Cornell that used distraction blocking software in the study, and they found that it was related to better student outcomes. So, kind of a pretty simple. If you're not distracted by Facebook, you're probably going to do a little bit better in school. But good to see that stuff starting to be studied. And I think to that extent, since the last time we talked, we actually have sort of inked partnerships with 2 universities to do some studies of software. So they're seeing the trends and realizing this is something that's interesting to study. So we are working on a study with Carnegie Mellon University and another study with the University of South Florida. So maybe next time we talk, we will have some good evidence-based claims.
That's great, and I just appreciate the very kind of empirical way you're approaching this. I think it adds value and credibility to your company.
Yeah. I know it's one of the things when you get a PhD and you start publishing quantitative work, you get very, very careful about making any sort of causal claims. Mm-hmm. But I think like anything. It's cool to try it. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. People, when it's coming to solve a problem as challenging as the relationship with technology and distraction, people have different solutions. My favorites, some of my favorites, talking to users and doing these interviews that we do, people who lock their phones in these safes that, go and lock it and you can't get back to your phone for another hour. People use so many interesting methods to solve this problem.
Tell me more stories like that, because that's okay. Because I think the more that we can kind of learn these different kind of workaround strategies, I mean, they're really helpful. I mean, I'll share one with you that I did a while back. So I had a while back I had a Nintendo Wii that I had in my house, and if you ever played Nintendo Wii, there was one of the games was Wii Sports Resort, and there's a ping pong game, and I loved it. So I was totally like hooked to it, and I kept finding that I would tell myself I'll play for half an hour, and next thing I know it's 3 a.m. and I said, this is not working for me. And so one of the things that I did, I said, you know what, like this willpower thing at this time, my meds are completely out of my system at this point, and like this just isn't working. It's like I really want to play because I find it enjoyable, but then I'm not enjoying the fact that I keep going one more. It's frustrating. Then you get into that shame cycle. So what I did is I plugged in my Wii into a lamp timer. Yes. And so I set it for like 30 or 35 minutes, and at no matter where I was in the game, power's cut, game's over, and that worked.
Exactly. Giving yourself, leveraging what is available so you can once again have control over the technology. So I've definitely heard in my research parents who do this with the router. The router is on the light timer. Some of the things that I've seen that are interesting, definitely the locking the phone in the safe I think that's pretty good. And I forget the name of the safe, but it's a safe that literally you put it in and you can't open it for another hour. It's a wonderful thing. Talking to students, what students will do is they will swap their passwords on Facebook. So I give you my password, you go in and change it, and I can't get into Facebook for the next 2 weeks during exams.
Oh, that's good. I never even thought about that. That's great.
Really interesting stuff. Yeah. And, a couple other things like that. My favorite from the writers now, Jonathan Franzen. I don't believe he's a user of freedom, but maybe he's, a kindred spirit. He's got a computer that he uses to do his writing, and he apparently super glued the Ethernet port, and he took out the Wi-Fi. So, there's this kind of rule of entrepreneurship. When you see people solving problems in those kind of ways, there's an opportunity there. It's just people are, the lengths we'll go to solve this problem are really pretty amazing and so interesting.
So tell us how as far as on the mobile platform, how does it work? So you download, it's an app or what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are trying to make it as simple and as easy as possible. iPhones are a little bit more challenging. You have to install a certificate. But basically the idea is you download the app, you log in, and you're good to go. Basically,
for the non-tech people, what's a certificate?
Oh, a certificate. It's basically something that allows the phone to then block certain websites, more or less. So basically, it just gives us the permissions to do that. And when you log into the app, it will just ask to install that. It's really pretty simple.
Okay.
There's nothing you have to do. It's just you click agree and you're good to go.
Okay.
But we do that, and then you can, more or less just tell it you want to be blocked off the internet, you want to be blocked off sites and apps. Eventually, email will start doing text screening and notifications a little bit later. We've got a lot of things coming in the pipeline, but it's more or less just a regular app. You just log in, and then the nice thing about it is you can control it from your browser. So if you're at home and you're on your computer, you can obviously turn it off remotely from your computer and set a schedule. So, like you were saying, Eric, with your, at 7:45 at night, what I do, how I use the product actually is, when I come home from work, I'm so tempted to, just check email one more time, but I'm with my kids and my wife, and so I just turn it on then. So I'm sort of forced to be present.
Does it use like a geofence where it knows when you've entered that area, then it cuts your internet?
Not yet. It's still it's still pretty simple. So it's just a schedule, like 6 o'clock at night kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think where we want to go is exactly that. So, using signals like, where are you? So are you at your office? Are you at a coffee shop? People work differently in different places, and so if we can kind of understand what you're trying to do, we can help. So, you do something like open up an Evernote document or open up Microsoft Word, we can cut the noise immediately. Now, we can't do that yet, but that's what's coming in the pipeline. That's what we want to do with this service. Just so whenever you sort of have that willpower to work, we're sort of there helping you.
Now, I don't really understand Apple's Automator well. It's something I would like to learn, but would there be a way that you could say, when you open Microsoft Word to launch Freedom?
Yeah. So, we're hoping to do that so you don't even have to set up an automator. Like, you can just do it and we'll handle it for you. Right now, you could probably put something like that together. Actually, there's a pretty good big community of Freedom users that use a technology called Alfred that automates workflows, and they do some really interesting things. They've shared some of that with me. But our goal is to really do it for you. Obviously, opt into it. You say you want to do this, when you open up the Microsoft Word and start writing, or Excel and start writing, we know you're in a productive mode. And maybe if you switch from Excel to Facebook, we know, we might want to pop up a notification, or we might want to say, okay, you can have 5 minutes, but time to get back to work. We haven't done that stuff yet, but it's kind of where we're going with the new service.
And kind of break the service down for us as far as like what it costs and everything.
So the service has at this point 3 tiers. We're still in pretty early stage beta, so some of it might be in flux, but we have 3 tiers. We have a basic free tier, so everybody can come and sign up and use it for free. And that basically provides a pretty simple blocking experience on one device. So, for students, it's really great. The next step up is what we call Desktop Premium. That's $24 a year. And what that does is it covers all of your desktop devices, whether Windows, Mac, all of the desktop devices in your house. And there's a lot of interesting and good features with that. This advanced scheduling, blocking apps, blocking websites. And then the final tier is desktop and mobile. So covers all your desktops, all your mobiles, and that's $45 a year. And that provides the coverage, the universal coverage across all the devices. And so that's kind of where we are now. And our goal is to just keep making those tiers more valuable as we develop and add in new features and listen to customers. So we want to be a product that is accessible and not so expensive that people wince at it. If you get a couple of good hours of Freedom use a year, it pays for itself. So we want to we want to make it accessible to people, and so those are the tiers that we're at right now.
Okay, and I'm gonna put you on the spot here to ask you, but I am also put a little marker in here in case you say no.
Sure.
Any discount codes that you can provide?
So, I will be able to provide some discount codes, and you can put the marker in. We haven't built it into the system yet, so we're still in pretty early beta, but we are going to be able to do discounts and referrals. I don't have any at this point in time. We're actually already sort of on a discounted price, so the people who come and join us during the beta, they're able to lock in that price for 2 years and just sort of know that they're going to get the best price. But it's literally just a tech issue point at this time,
Fred, I really like how non-hype you are. Like it makes me like just trust what you're doing even more. It's like you're very much like downplaying the awesomeness of it, but I think in a very honest way. You're like, I think you know and see what the potential is, and you see that it's not there yet, but you also know how valuable it currently is. Right. So I just, I think you're providing a great service, and I enjoy it, and I think I shared with you, and I'll share with the listeners that a while back I was using it, and I had a schedule set up, and I forgot that I had a schedule set up, and I was doing a webinar, and I was kicked out of my own webinar, and had to restart my computer and everything, and it was. It cut me free too soon, basically. But I did have a question. I don't know if this is, the way just the internets will work. I noticed when on a Skype call that it won't kick me off a Skype call during the call.
Mm-hmm. So the version of Freedom you use was purposefully set up that way.
Okay.
So what we did is we set it up so you can some services can come through, and so so you can do things like synchronized Dropbox. You can your Google Drive. You could play Spotify music. So that's a setting that we have, and there's also a setting that just literally allows nothing. And that's another setting on that product. But it is the answer to the question is sort of it's how the internet works. Mm-hmm. But we also made some decisions around people who wanted to be basically blocked off of the web, but still have access to certain services, allowing some of that. I mean. And probably the bigger driver there is like, a Dropbox or Evernote synchronization. Just it's an interesting set of challenges because so much of what we do has moved to the cloud. Mm-hmm. So, it's funny, you're like, how could I even be offline to get my job done? Like nobody at my work could, we all we're on Slack, we're on Google Drive, you're sort of compelled to be online. So, we realized, with the new software that we're developing, it's way more about filtering and signal optimization, getting you the right stuff at the right time. And, that's actually a bigger set of challenges.
I don't know. Do you listen to the podcast Reply All?
I do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, Reply All, it's a podcast produced by NPR or just some NPR folks that have kind of created this. It's like a Gimlet Media. Basically, it's an NPR side project. Just call it that. And
have you heard the Startup podcast?
Yes. Oh, it's fantastic. It's so easy to geek out over podcasts when you're really into podcasting.
It's great. Yeah.
So, did you hear the episode on Reply All about the guy who was arrested and was at this time in jail for hacking? So he's out of jail on probation, or out of prison, and he's on probation, but he's still a computer programmer. But part of the terms of his probation is he is not allowed on the internet. So you think about how does this programmer whose job is dependent on doing this be off the internet? And it was amazing to me. So part of where he writes all this code, and then he actually prints it out and mails it snail mail to his boss. And he talked about if he wanted to watch a movie on Netflix, he has to have his kid push the button on the because that's technically considered on the internet. And it was so I don't know. I just kind of thought of that when you're thinking about everything we do is so internet based.
It's the truth. And, as a programmer, thinking about programming without the internet is one of the scariest things that you can imagine. But I've got a story, and that is one of the guys who works on Freedom actually spent about 10 years. He worked for the government and doing top secret things, working for one of the contractors. And he didn't have access to the internet when he worked either. And I said, how did you do that? And it turns out it made him into one of the best programmers that I've ever met in my life. Because, instead of just having that crutch to go back and, go to Stack Overflow, which is totally what I do every time I run into a programming problem, he had to go read the book. A Stack Overflow, it's just like a QA site for programmers. Okay. And he would have to go and learn the fundamentals of the language. And as a result of that, he's one of the strongest programmers by far I've ever worked with. It's kind of incredible how that worked out for him.
I imagine that it helps with so much more focus, going really deep and really having to use your own kind of what you already have kind of in you, in a sense, to solve problems.
You develop your own, sort of set of strategies for solving those information problems. And yeah, it's interesting. It's really, he's a unique guy to work with. Yeah.
So we're kind of getting near the end of the show here. So what I want to do, because I have a couple questions that I want to ask you, but I'm thinking that I'm sort of going to put them into the part of the show that we call the random question round.
All right.
This is the part of the show that has nothing to do with ADHD, which then paradoxically has everything to do with ADHD. And, and this discussion really has not really been so much about ADHD, but about a piece of software that, many of us with ADHD can find very, very helpful. So are you ready?
I'm ready, yes.
So my first question is, and I'll just say you can't use freedom as the answer. If you can invent something or improve upon something, what would it be?
Oh my goodness! Wow, invent or improve on something. I'm very interested in logistics and transportation. I don't know. It's just one of these things. Now, I think the self-driving car has already been invented, but man, I wish it was here. I wish it was here right now, because I've got, and probably lots of your listeners have kids who are, going to be driving age in a couple of years. So I think improving on the self-driving car and getting freedom in it somehow. So that's my. I broke the. Sorry.
Okay, so tell me, what are like the 5 apps that you use most often?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So number 1 is Slack. So Slack is a work communication tool. It's a little distracting, but it's really pretty awesome. I use Evernote. Love Evernote, constantly using Evernote, and a bunch of their tools, actually. So I use Sketch, for doing UI development. So it's 3. And Google Apps, that's not an exciting answer, but that's what a lot of what we do in business. And then I spend a good amount of time in the Photoshop, in the Illustrator world. And I can look at my phone and probably find a couple of more apps, but that's the most of my day. It's on those apps.
Okay. If you could create a video game and you are the star character of the video game, what is this video game?
Oh my gosh. It's a video game where you recruit people to your startup, and it's my nightmare, and I live it all day. No, just kidding. So what would that video game be? Man, this is a good question.
All right, so what would your character be?
What would my character be? So definitely some sort of MacGyver-ish type of, problem solver. That's what I identify with. That's also a little bit of my life these days. And yeah, I was always a big, RPG fan. Those are the games that I played. So, I like working on, sort of big problems and solving them over time. And, it would be some takeoff on that.
Okay. And then, all superheroes and characters have their own kryptonite. What's yours in the context of this game?
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to say ice cream, but let's see. What is mine? I think, just thinking for a second, like what I guess maybe reflecting a little bit on, what it's like to be an entrepreneur and sort of go to this next stage of entrepreneurship. It's like, you have to have a lot of confidence. You have to feel like, you're making change in the world. And I think one of the things that, I struggle with, and probably this character would struggle with, is like really knowing that you're making the change in the world that you want to make. So that's maybe a little bit more philosophical answer, but I don't know. When you're building something, when you're trying to make a difference in people's lives, getting out there and doing it is always the hardest part, and that's kind of where we are right now. And so anyway, whatever that feeling is, that's self-doubt, or just the challenges that you face when you're an entrepreneur. It's a new experience for me.
So your kryptonite is self-doubt?
Yes, self-doubt. Yeah, no. Let's go with ice cream.
Circling back. All right. Would you ever enter into a ice cream eating contest?
I would, yes.
Okay. And
that would be a bad move for my superhero, though.
It'd be hard to get into your tights then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to call it quits from there.
All right.
Thank you, Fred, so much for coming on the show. Tell people where they can reach you and find out more about freedom.to.
Sure. Yeah. My email is fred@freedom.to, and people are more than welcome to come and check it out. We're in a beta, but we're open to the public. So come in and kick the tires, see if you like it, and we're working on it like crazy. So that's where they can reach me. I'm at F Stutzman on Twitter. So F and last name Stutzman, and then we are at Freedom on Twitter. So there's lots of ways to get in touch with us. Just reach out. Always interested in hearing people's stories and connecting.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll have all the links to everything that Fred just mentioned in the show notes. And Fred, thank you.
Well, Eric, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for listening to another episode of ADHD Rewired. And if you're new to the show, welcome to ADHD Rewired. We are more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. You could see a full outline of this and all other episodes with all the links and other resources mentioned during this interview at ADHDrewired.com. Help support this podcast by checking out my sponsors. I use Zoom video conferencing nearly every day, and so can you. Go free or go pro. But please go to erictivers.com/Zoom so they know that I sent you. And you can get a free audiobook from Audible at erictivers.com/Audible. And next time you shop Amazon, use the Amazon search portal at ADHDrewired.com. A small percentage of your purchase will go to support this show, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You can also support this podcast by leaving an honest rating and review in iTunes or Stitcher. This really helps other people find this show. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't just be a passive listener, be an active member of the ADHD Rewired community. We are on Facebook. You can like our page, but please submit your request to join our free and growing community. And don't forget to check your other inbox, because I screen everybody before they come into our community. ADHD Rewired summer coaching groups are now forming. Schedule your free 20-minute consultation with me at coachingrewired.com. That's coachingrewired.com. Or you can call me at 224-993-9450. If you are looking to get a better handle on time management, project management, and productivity, while being connected to a group of like-minded people who all support you and genuinely understand your challenges, join the next ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. Interested? Call 224-993-9450. That's 224-993-9450. Or go to coachingrewired.com to complete the interest form or to schedule your free consultation. That's coachingrewired.com.